So, after the last two videos of complete doom and gloom, I wanted to propose a solution. A light burning bright in a collapsed building. I know your view on Marta might not be the best.
Welcome to the train. Allah Akbar! Allah Akbar!
After what you've seen. However, I'd like to share my opinion on what Marta should be. In this video, I will only be talking about Dekalb rail infrastructure, so don't expect Gwinnett or anything else. So grab a pint and let's go.
Oh shit, here we go again.
From the early days of Marta, there was always struggle with getting funding. So much struggle, in fact, that Mayor Sam Russell pulled stunts like getting into helicopters to campaign above a freeway just to get a half-penny sales tax to be the base funding source for Marta. Also, the governor at the time passed a law that only half the money from the sales tax can go to operating costs. This is bad.
Yap, I'm done this. I'ma make it more interesting. Sam walks into the room. The shadows of his fallen foes cloud his enemy, Maddox's vision. You'll never get funding for Marta. You're playing a fool's game. How about I hit you with a rule? What is it? Only 50% of sales tax can go to operating costs. Sam looked into the eyes of his enemy, but instead of backing down, he replies, "Nah, I'd win."
So, my solution to this problem? Work to pass a bill that gives Marta a full penny sales tax and remove the rule that only 50% of the sales tax can be used for operating costs, because we should not be constraining our transit system right out the gate. Another problem is where the funding goes. In 2016, a half-penny sales tax was approved, and Marta promised to spend the money on projects like the Atlanta Beltline Rail, Clifton Corridor, and multiple BRT projects. However, Marta had different ideas. In 2023, when the $2.6 billion check came in, which was originally supposed to be $3.7 million, and Marta decided to completely disregard what everyone in the public had wanted and blew all the money on system upgrades, such as new signs at stations and a couple fixed fare gates, which is just great. A government organization promises something and the exact opposite of what they promised happens. Definitely have not seen this before. Oh, what was I talking about? Oh, right, funding.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Just looking at this makes me question my eyesight, because more than $6 billion for rich people express lanes has always seemed like a great use of public funds. This is the kind of stuff I'll point to when people say rail is too expensive. For example, the initial Bay Area rapid transit rail system costed around $1.5 billion and was space-age technology at the time, and could take you all around the San Francisco Bay Area, compared to rich people express lanes that will have you going at 80 and your fat ass going from your house to McDonald's. Public funds. However, if you want to know who's been doing this, you don't need to look far, as GDOT's slimy fingers are all over this project. And fun fact for all the people still in denial, Atlanta is the only city in the United States that does not get money from the state for heavy rail. None. It's a travesty. The Georgia Department of Public Transportation may as well be called the Georgia Department of Cars, GDOT. Do you realize how ridiculous that is? All of GDOT's hours-long meetings, barely a drop of time is spent talking about public transportation. Even when you look at their website, you have to scroll to the very bottom to see anything about public transportation. And most of these things are just statewide hypothetical projects like high-speed rail lines. Yeah, good luck getting that done in the next 10 years. So the solution? Get involved. That's all you can do. And I know you're asking where to get involved, and I know just the place. If you put Beltlinerailnow.com into the search bar, you will come across an advocacy group for Beltline Rail Project in particular. And you can also go to Marta meetings if you have the courage to sit through one of those.
This is what the transit tax will do. It will further urbanize the county.
The easiest option I know of is just to take a couple Marta surveys. All of these will be listed in the link in the description. Finally, the fun part, rail extensions. The rail extensions I will be talking about are only related to Dekalb, so don't expect anything related to Cobb, Clayton, Fulton, or Gwinnett. The first one I'm talking about is top priority, Beltline Rail. Many don't know this, but the Beltline was originally supposed to be rail. However, that idea was scrapped for a walking trail. The Beltline is unlike any other rails trails projects in the US. It is one of a kind. The Beltline facilitates commercial development like no other walking trail on Earth has been able to do. This is partly because of the trail's close proximity to the downtown and midtown areas, and the fact that Atlanta was starved for a car-free environment for so long. For what I know, the only other car-free space in Atlanta at the time of development, besides parks, was Decatur Square. Before the Beltline, these places were completely decimated. The areas such as Old Fourth Ward and Virginia Highlands were major victims of white flight, where most white people left the center of the city for the suburbs and also redlined the inner neighborhoods. Redlining was a particularly racist practice which involved banning certain neighborhoods from loans and social services. Previously bustling neighborhoods were reduced to a crime-ridden neighborhoods that looked more like a Fallout game than an actual city. All this was fixed with a simple path. Do you realize how easy that was? A literal slab of concrete created one of the most high-earning districts in Atlanta. Most house prices in the area are oh god. So why aren't we building rail? This is literally a slam dunk project, a layup. Already a right of way and already extremely high density in commerce. What more do you need for a transit project? So, my letter to Mayor Andre Dickens.
Just do it!
Ever since that cold, dark winter's morning in 1979, my life was never the same. No, you can't cancel the project, John. It doesn't matter what you want, it's what the public wants. The coffers are dry. You can't. It's been in the works since 75. Tucker will never get its rail line. Sorry, something must have gotten over me. To explain that in a way that isn't a weird detective drama, when Marta was first created, there's multiple proposed lines they had, which only one of them in about a half of the other one ended up getting completed. One of these lines, though, was known as the Eastlake to Tucker rail line, which would have, as you know, gone from Eastlake to Tucker, cutting through areas like North Druid Hills. However, as that detective drama was trying to show you, it never came to fruition. But I do believe this would be a great rail line for Tucker and its surrounding areas. Tucker has always been a very car-dependent place, as according to bestplaces.net, only 2.2% of people take the bus to work in Tucker, which is a surprisingly low number. Tucker's surrounding communities of Clarkson and Scottsdale would also benefit because they are very impoverished areas of Dekalb. According to bestneighborhoods.com, they are on low category, which is on par with downtown Atlanta. People here have to rely on slow buses that take long and winding routes to get to their destination. This train will give Tucker and the communities between Tucker and Eastlake, like Druid Hills, North Decatur, a sturdy connection to the rest of Atlanta. I used to live in Tucker, and I can tell it has no useful transit. The stations along this line will consist of one at Fernbank Transit Science Center, one at the intersection of North Druid Hills Road and Claremont, one at Emory, another one at Montreal Road,
Another one.
at the DeKalb County Public Safety Department offices, and one last stop at Tucker Main Street Station. Now, with all that yapping done, there still begs the question, why? Why even do all this? For praise? No. For money? Definitely not. So all the poor people can get off the road and take public transit so I can have all the lanes to myself in my 15-ton death machine SUV I nicknamed Destroyer of Worlds and run over 20 newborn babies? Maybe.
But the real answer to that question starts with an interview with an old friend.
Alright, so take me through your day. Where'd you start off and where did it end?
Around 5 to 5:30, I would wake myself up, prepare myself, get my clothes on, and stuff like that. They would give me enough ample time to around before 6 o'clock, before the bus came from off of Redan Road. I can't remember the exact bus number, but it was the bus that goes from Redan Road all the way to straight to Indian Creek, and from there I would take go from Indian Creek all the way to 5 Points. After 5 points, I would wait a little bit, like around, let's say, on an average 10 to 15 minutes for the next train to come. That would be on the goal line to Dorville. Then I'll get to Dorville around 7:30, 7:45, and then I would walk a mile down from the station to school every day for 2 years. I would do that. And then from there, after that, it would be, after school was over, I would usually have practice, whether it be either basketball at the time when I was in 8th grade, or when I was doing track. When I was doing track, it would be around, practice would end usually around 5:30. So after that, it would be around the same time, but sometimes I would usually get a ride or something like that from one of my teammates or something like that to the station, and from there it would cut the time significantly, but still I would still end up around the usual time, around 7 to 8 o'clock, I would say, on average.
Just take into perspective the amount of time and effort you have to put into traveling that distance per day. And I will give you one thing. His trip was made long because he lives in Lithonia and goes to school in Chambly. Yeah, what did you usually see and experience taking Marta each day?
Uh, a lot of homelessness, a lot of poverty. I would say that.
There it is. That is specifically why I care so much about public transportation. That's why you should care so much about public transportation. Most people don't have the money to spend $10,000 a year on a car. And the numbers are there. It is statistically more possible for people who have less money to take public transportation. And it's not just because they want to, or it's just some fluke in the system. It's specifically because they don't have enough money to drive a car. And if you take anything out of this video, I want you to take this out of it. We don't ever want in our society to have poor people taking nasty subways and nasty transit tunnels. Well, meanwhile, rich people get to live topside, driving nice big SUVs and polluting the air. Thanks for watching.
Yeah!